Confessions of a Nazi Spy, right? Okay. Starring Edward G. Robinson as an FBI agent. 1939 anti-Nazi film. The first anti-Nazi film coming from out of America. Now let's break this down. Let's give some context here. March 12, 1938, German troops marched into Austria to annex the German-speaking nation for the Third Reich, right? 3 years before America gets into the war, right? December 7, 1941, America enters the war against Germany once Japan drops the bomb on Pearl Harbor, a day that will live in infamy, right? May 7th, 1945, the Germans surrendered, but the Nazis didn't surrender until after Hiroshima and Nagasaki were bombed. August 6th and then August 9th, they surrendered immediately in August of 1945 after the nuclear bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, right? So that's context to let you know what's happening. So this film is early as far as anti-Nazi films. This is the war is the march of the Nazi war machine was on. And a lot of the people who star in this film were defectors from Nazi Germany because they didn't believe in what the Nazi party was talking about, right? So Confessions is an early anti-Nazi film for America, starring again defectors from Germany when it became a country run by the Nazi parties under Adolf Hitler, right? What's interesting? Shows how our American government put immigrants in factory jobs, right? Fresh off the boat. I don't know what kind of vetting they did, but fresh off the boat, they were putting them in, and we talked about earlier in the show about how the NAACP, W.E.B. Du Bois were working to push for American blacks to have those jobs, right? But each time a new set of immigrants come in, they're put in front of American blacks, and this is nothing new that's happening. And right now, it's the Dixiecrat Party. I like to call them Dixiecrats. The Democrat Party that is actually doing this, right? And it's funny that the American government would rather fight possible Nazi spies in America that would want to blow things up or send plans back to try to have America invaded than to have American blacks work.
You know, I don't know if you remember, but years ago, this was like straight out of high school. And I remember when I was working, or no, I wasn't working, but I was doing an externship, for this one hospital in Cleveland, a suburb of Cleveland, and because Cleveland had nothing to do with this, what they did. You remember I told you they shipped in tons of nurses from overseas. And they gave them room and board, and I was like the talk of the hospital, right? And they gave them room and board, and instead of like Cleveland is like a healthcare city, right? We have the Cleveland Clinic, University Hospital of Cleveland, as well as other hospitals. We have Metro Hospital. We have tons of colleges like Cleveland State, Ursuline, Case, John Carroll, just tons and tons. It's a healthcare city, education, right? So you look at all the students who would be graduating, if not already graduated, with degrees in healthcare, right? Ready to move into these positions, right? But this one particular hospital, and it wasn't the hospital that I named. It wasn't Cleveland Clinic, and it wasn't University Hospital of Cleveland, and it wasn't Metro Hospital. But this other hospital, they had brought in tons of healthcare workers from overseas. And I was young, like I'm an observer, right? So I'm like looking at all of this. I'm looking at what's going on. And I was young and I'm like, why wouldn't they hire the people that's here in the city, like the graduates or the people who are needing jobs? But they would rather bring in people overseas
from overseas, yeah,
and put into these positions.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sorry, but go ahead. But when you said that, I'm like, yeah, that's true. I've seen it done.
Unions were formed to keep American blacks out of factory jobs, right? So this is what we're looking at. Cleveland, Ohio is a majority black city. Now you might watch the sports, but they come in from the suburbs. But it's a majority black city, so that means that's who should be working in those jobs, right? How the sentiment has changed as more immigrants have been let into the United States. Now, the sentiment in the movie was definitely America and making sure that the immigrant that was coming in and could be a spy would not be, and it was definitely all American, and it was nothing about, no sympathy for Germany or Nazis whatsoever. But how it's changed since immigrants have been let into the United States who are classified as white, but those people are only 1 or 3 generations back here in these jobs. How easy they are to side with people who are not American in politics. Like you'll see, like there's a famous couple who look white, who had on a shirt that said, I'd rather be Russian than a Democrat. But when you look at them, they look like they were Russians. You know, just like the Americans, right?
Oh, the TV show.
Remember, we went to a beauty care spot. And the woman came in, she looked like a regular Caucasian.
Last summer, actually.
Yeah, and then she started speaking, and because we were in the store because a windstorm kicked up, right? Real bad. You get a windstorm, you'll get blinded out here, right? So a windstorm kicked up, and she started speaking in Russian. I mean, because she spoke perfect American English. Right. She had all the slang and all the terms, Caucasian lady, and she had the everything down, right? But then when she got on the phone, she was talking to the person, she was speaking in Russian. Then when she got off the phone, she went straight back to, and then there was an immigrant behind the counter, one Asian and one from another from a European country. And they didn't bat an eye about it. But I'm sitting up here like,
she kind of went off to the side, and
what I'm saying is they didn't care because they're immigrants.
Okay, so me and you were looking like,
we were looking because we're Americans,
and I thought about the TV show
American Blacks, and we're looking like,
are they? Is she a undercover agent?
Jeez,
because she went from having a real thick Southern, like a hee-haw, the TV show hee-haw accent. Till she kind of took her phone and she was off in a cut, and she went into speaking Russian, and I'm like, wow.
Right. So, Confessions of a Nazi Spy is a must-see film. You have to see it. It's 1939, but it moves, man. Right. Edward G. Robinson is the FBI agent, and it moves. It has an ensemble cast. It moves, and it also teaches you an uncomfortable truth about America still today where it pertains to American blacks. What would you rate Confession of a Nazi Spy? Okay, you can tell your honest opinion.
Well, you know what? I missed part of it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because when you were watching it, it was on really, really, really late.
Okay.
So I caught the beginning, and from what I saw, it looked really good. But then, by the time we start hitting like,
what did you rate?
1-2 a.m.
What did you rate?
Based on what you said, I guess it would be a 10.
Okay, I give it a 10. Okay, moving right along.
That's from what I saw.